Hey everybody, it's Rob here. There is a new difficulty scaling coming to the game here on the PTR next week, and with it and Runewords, a lot of power creep in the game. They're also reworking the Paragon boards, and I wanna, give some extra information here of how difficult the game is gonna be and how much power creep we actually gonna have with all the stat squish and all the rescaling. So you may have seen this. They shared this new difficulty tier plus the associated pit system. This is what was shared by Blizzard, this screenshot here. And what they also said, and I basically calculated, it was not hard, but I basically calculated and also wrote down all the debuffs of this new scaling up to Torment 4. So I just want to empathize here what Colin said. Colin was cooking in the dev stream. Listen to this.
One thing on the pit, Hazelin, that I think is really interesting is we definitely have rescaled the pit. Tier 100 is sort of like our 200 on live.
So pit 100 is the new cap, but the old pit 200 on live is essentially the new pit 100 in the PTR and in Season 6. So we can essentially calculate the Season 5 pit tier equals to the new difficulty. So Torment 4, which is going to be the hardest difficulty, this is going to happen for the open world, this is going to be happening for the Infernal Hordes, for the Dark Citadel, for the world bosses, for everything, is going to be the current live, roughly 130 pit difficulty. So this is going to be pretty tough, guys. I don't know how many of you have cleared pit 130, but if you're not playing a lot, it can be pretty difficult if you're not playing like an S or an A tier build. Clearing 130, for example, if you play a Barb, is going to be tough. So World Tier 4 is going to be tough. And on top of the, not World Tier 4, Torment 4 is going to be tough. Way harder than World Tier 4. And on top of this, there's also this debuff that they talked about here in the blog post. So you guys can see at the moment, the World Tier 4 debuff is only 50% res. And there's no debuff to your armory. But what we have now is there is 1,000 armor debuff, and they're rescaling armor, and there's also 100% res debuff. So you're gonna be needing to stack 50 more resistance, and you're gonna be needing to stack like way more armor than there is now, because there is a stat switch coming to armor. The new armor cap is 1,000, but it looks like they're also dividing the armor on all the existing items by roughly divided by 11. So Harlequin's Crest is only going to give you like 100 base plus another 300 extra armor or so. You could tell this here by looking at the Uber Uniques. You see the new helm here only has 100 armor, while a Shaco here has 1,150 armor. So they are reducing the armor a lot. And again, there's the rescaling here. So 1,000 armor is the max cap now. But again, you're going to get a lot less armor. So I'm kind of hoping, and also it's strongly going in this direction, that we will need to stack more armor than at the moment, because we have this 1,000 armor penalty on top of the 1,000 armor cap. So you're not gonna just solve your armor with the Harlequin's Crest, with the Shaco alone. Because right now I think the game design around armor is pretty boring. Like all you need is basically a Harlequin's Crest, and boom, you have armor cap. And this is looking to change, making things like the Juggernaut aspect, things like Disobedience, but also things like Skulls or Resistance Gems in your jewelry much more useful again. Because right now the entire concept of armor is like kind of bad, because again, you just equip Shaco and your armor is capped. So it is too easy and invalidates a lot of armor mechanics in the game, such as getting armor from your Paragon nodes and stuff. And they are also dividing the armor on the Paragons. For example, the new Tenacity, right now it has 100 armor. And from what we've seen in the blog post here, the new Tenacity only has 20 armor. So they are dividing the armor by 11 on gear, and they are dividing the armor by 5 roughly on Paragon. So they're completely rescaling this. And it looks like you're going to have to stack a lot more armor. And then what a lot of people missed here with this as well. So again, T4 is going to be pretty hard. Pit level 130, plus you need the new caps. That's going to be difficult for a lot of people. But again, there are no exclusive rewards to all of this. So if you don't like this, or if T4 is too hard for you, if you can't do Pit 130 with your build, it's going to be fine playing on tier 2 or on tier 3, which is like, tier 3 is like equal to pit level 100 in the live game. And again, the new pit levels are going to be rescaled So again, the old pit 200 is the new pit 100. So this is roughly doubled. The new pit 130 is basically pit 65. And what many people missed, again, that the hordes and all the other content, like the new Dark Citadel, is also scaling to this. So essentially, we are getting a new difficulty levels of the Infernal Hordes. This is not going to be on the PTR, but right now I would say Infernal Hordes tier 7 equals to live pit 100, and tier 8 Hordes equals to roughly pit 115 difficulty. And again, the new pit, World tier 4 Infernal Hordes, is going to equal a pit level of 130 right now. So that's going to be also way harder difficulty for the Hordes, if you want it to be. And this is also going to be very interesting, because like fighting a world boss that is like pit level 130 in terms of being powerful, that's going to be pretty tough. Same for the Dark Citadel, depending on how they design the bosses and the mechanics you have to dodge. Especially if you have this like stacking debuff, it's going to be pretty difficult. But don't fear anything, guys, because it looks like there is a lot of power creep in the game. And I want to talk about that here right now. So one of the main things that they showcased in terms of power creep, and I think this is the biggest one, is the new Paragon system. So in the pits, you can now upgrade your glyphs. And your glyphs will become legendary glyphs at level 45. And they will also increase in radius. And look at these insane stats here that you can get. So this is basically like the Wrath glyph, the crit damage glyph. It gives you additive crit damage per dexterity. So you could basically compare it to what I have here, the Wrath glyph. So this is the Wrath glyph, and I'm not sure if it's this glyph, but basically this is only level 21, and you can keep leveling it. And then at level 45, it's going to become legendary. It's going to get +1 extra range, so I can scale more dexterity. And it's also going to get a legendary effect. And this one holds a lot of power, because it's giving you another multiplicative, and they said this is an X, of 20% damage that also scales with levels. And you will need to do the pits to upgrade them. So there is a tremendous amount of power creep, because it's scaling the additive, and it's also scaling the multiplier, and it's scaling the range. So you at least want to level it to, excuse me about the bell of hell is going. You at least want to level it to level 45 to get the range increase. So you can see here, this is a normal glyph. And then this is at level 15, it goes up to the current one that we have in game. So this is +4 ranks. But then you can level it once more, boom, to +5, like filling out basically a quarter of the entire Paragon board. And the power creep that this brings is just insane, because we go back to it. Not only does it give you the additive, it also gives you the multiplicative, and you can level them if you can do the hardest pits to level 100. And I did some rough calculations here, like only on the spirit glyph, right? So you can see here, this is a level 50 spirit glyph, and this is a level 45 spirit glyph. And I calculated the bonus it gives you at level 100. It's gonna give you roughly 1000 crit damage additive. And I'm assuming you're gonna have like 10 times 5 dex in range. The number is probably gonna be higher, because you get this extra radius increase. So probably it's gonna be 60 to 70 dexterity. Right now, with the current live game, it's 49. Sometimes you can get 54, I think, is the cap. But yeah, with the extra radius, I think you can get up to 70 dexterity. But I was very conservative and just assumed 50 dex, so 10 increments of 5 dexterity. I'm basically giving you, at level 100, giving you 1000% crit damage. And it's also giving you, because it's going up by 0.4, and this is a level 45 glyph, right? So it's going 55 times 0.4. It goes up by 22% X, and then plus the base of 20, we're landing at this 42. So this is going to give you 42 X multiplicative damage, 42%. And that is going to be wild. So this single glyph, without calculating all this 1000 additive crit damage that you can make into a multiplier as well, and you can also multiply with Grandfather and Heavy-Handed and Petrify, which you can use on every class now with the new Runewords. So there is a big multiplier here coming, and this glyph alone, again, 42% damage. And there is this cap of 5 Paragon boards total that they're adding. Like, I'm feeling a certain kind of way about it. I don't like that they add more caps, you know, like they said the argument for capping the Paragon board was something along the line that they want the legendary nodes to be like more impactful compared to the glyphs, but then why don't they just buff the legendary nodes? You know, like I just feel like it's less player choice if it's only 5 Paragon boards and we're going to be capped on these Paragon boards. Like, this is how they look. Like, given there's going to be a lot more different options here, but in the end, you're just going to go for +5 main stat. And people already didn't like the +5 main stat grind in Diablo 3. So I would much rather have them lift this Paragon cap. But we'll see on the PTR how it's going to feel. And we'll see if my concerns here are valid. And then we'll give feedback on it. Because 5 board cap is just limiting player choice in my opinion. But again, we'll see. Either way, right now you can have 5 glyphs. And if we assume that they're all going to be somewhat equal to the spirit, we're gonna get a massive power spike. We're gonna get about 42x damage, and we're gonna get this 5 times. So roughly a 5x multiplier. And yeah, of course, we're gonna lose the current glyphs, but we're also gonna get a big additive bonus. So I think, like, roughly assuming 5 times more damage just from the glyphs, if you have them fully maxed out, and people will have them maxed out. They will just grind, I don't know, pit tier 70 to get it up to 100 at 1% chance. People have been doing this in Diablo 3 because you see here the success chance on equal level to get +1 is 55%. In Diablo 3 it used to be 60 on equal level, and then it's gonna go, was like halving, like every level you are above it. So you definitely have to like clear very high even for 1% run at the end. But yeah, you can get this glyph to level 100 and it's gonna give you some insane bonuses. And this is like a 5 times damage power creep, roughly. And then we also have Runewords coming. And there's a very strong one here. This is the rune. You see, this one here gives the war cry of the barbarian. And if I'm going in-game and I'm just hovering war cry, we unequip Shaco, so it's level 1. And this rune we also unequip. So this is the war cry that we're gonna get from the rune. And this is gonna give berserking to every character now. So Barbarian already has berserking, so the rune is not as crazy on bar. But let's take a Sorcerer, for example. Sorcerer is gonna get Warcry. It's gonna increase the damage by 15x. And it's giving berserking, which you can see down here, which is increasing the damage by another 25x. You're also getting movement speed, but it's not that relevant on a Sorcerer. But that is basically... just this rune alone gives you a 1.15x and a 1.25x, giving you another 43% damage multiplier. So another 1.43x. That is pretty crazy. And then the next rune here is the Yom rune. This one gives you the Druid Petrify. And you see the Druid Petrify gives you... multiplicative crit damage. There's also another rune that can give you double damage, but also spends your resource. I think the Petrify rune here, where you're evoking the Druid's Petrify, is going to be way stronger. So we can go here on a Druid class, and you will see the multiplier. Oh, actually, I think I copy-pasted it here. Yeah, you see the Petrify here. This is what it does. So Petrify stuns the enemies and increases your critical strike damage to those enemies by 1.3x and by 1.5x if you're fighting a boss. And the duration is 7 seconds on those bosses. And the cooldown of this rune here is only 5 seconds. So man, you're getting like another massive power spike from the Yom rune. I think this is like 2 of the most powerful runes basically combined, giving you like more than double damage only from having those 2 rune words. And on a Sorcerer, I think it's also going to be very easy to trigger them, because you can just absolutely spam your Lightning Spear. And then you can basically trigger Yal. I think you're spamming about 3 Lightning Spears a second. So you're getting like 150 offering every second. And you only need, for example, 500. So you're getting 500 divided by 150. So every 3.3 seconds you can trigger this. And the Warcry lasts for 6 seconds already. So you easily have Warcry up permanently. And you're also going to have the Petrify up permanently by only spamming the Lightning Spear, which is pretty much a cooldown spell. And then you can either use Zen, or you probably want to use the 150 room when you invoke another power from another class to trigger the other one. So it's gonna go pretty crazy on the Lightning Sorcerer, I think, and and other classes as well. But the damage of the Runewords roughly times 2. And then we are getting 11 extra skill points. The 69 skill points pretty much have been confirmed. So most of these skill points, I think, are gonna give you like at least some multiplier, because I was just looking at this on Barb. I think it's like Warpath or something. Yeah, like here, for example, on Barb, you can get like 3 points into another 1.12x. And I think pretty much every class was getting some damage increase from getting 11 more skill points. Right now, we have 59, and we are getting more from Renown, and we are getting more from level 60. So we are getting a total of 69 skill points. So 11 new skill points, and also new skills and new passives to choose from, and giving you more DPS as well. So all in all, this equals a rough increase of times 15. You're gonna be like 15 times stronger than right now with these Paragon changes, with these rune edits, and with the new skill points. Then, obviously, you're also gonna get more Paragon points on top of this. And I calculate this roughly. There's a stat squish, there's new weapons we're going to talk about here in a second as well. This is just the buffs, and now we're coming to the debuffs here in a second. But one more thing here is that the new Paragon points, it looks like we're going to get 301 base, because we have 300 Paragon points. And on level, and right now it's the same thing. If you hit level 50, it's giving you the first Paragon point. So essentially, at the moment, we have 225 Paragon points. And I believe we will have 329. Because it's going to be 300 plus 1 for level 7 for level 60. And then Renown, we're going to get one additional Renown area. So we're going to get another 4 Paragon points. So that means from Renown, we're getting 24. And then Altars of Lilith give 4 right now as well. There might be a 5th one for an equal 330. But I think we're going to have 329 Paragon points. And this will only allow us to populate 5 boards. So we will have to basically take the main stat or something. Like, we'll see exactly how it's going to be on the PTR. I'll definitely make a follow-up video on this, because this, with this caps, is something very dear and near to my heart. We'll see. But then again, we're getting about 15x damage. But there's also a lot of rescaling. We have the stat squish. So it's going to be very hard to say roughly. But there is definitely a lot of positive damage we're getting. But then again, we are also getting a massive change in the way that the item power works. So right now, obviously, we have very high item power. We have 925 item power. And the new item power of Ancestral Gear is going to be 800. And you can kind of see, and I calculated the average damage here, is going to go down pretty significantly. We're going from a 1,600 average damage from the 925 to now 800 item power. And this one only having 271 damage. So 289 damage per second versus 1,800 damage per second. So it's going down a lot. And this is like a damage loss of roughly divided by 6. On top of that, we have the stat squish. So you see here like the armor, the life, the tech power, everything going down. So this is going to be very hard to calculate. But they also, on top of like this, are going to rework the monsters. They're gonna reduce the boss HP, and the monster level is changing, and monsters will always match the player level. And this is gonna be a huge nerf for the monsters, making the game easier, I think. So all in all, guys, with losing roughly 6x damage, some stat squish, but also with monsters becoming weaker, and gaining about 15x damage, I'm kind of thinking that we're going to be a lot more powerful in terms of which pit tier we can clear. So I would even say, okay, if you're doing, I don't know, like a pit 120 at the moment on the live game as your highest push, I think you're gonna have no problems doing the old pit 130 equal, which is now pit 65, right? So I think you will be like pretty fine on World Tier 4 if you can clear like with your build, if it's not getting nerfed like 120 right now. Because I think the power creep is gonna be there with those runes, with those Paragon reworks, and things like that. Obviously, that's assuming that you have some decently leveled glyphs, but I think they're gonna be leveling fast, and I can't wait to try all this on the PTR, especially like I want to see how hard the world bosses will be on World Tier 4. I want to see the strongholds, the infernal hordes unfortunately are not on the PTR, the Dark Citadel isn't either. But you see there's like a lot of stuff to test here. And also very curious to see how these penalties will work out and how we can basically try to like circumvent these and still stack the armor cap. And I think Colin, he was cooking a lot, he said it best here. They are kind of expecting people maybe to hit, you know, pit 100, which is the pit 200. Listen to this.
Definitely have rescaled the pit. Tier 100 is sort of like our 200 on live. But I think that's something that, you know, we definitely want to keep an eye out on PTR. We don't have any problems with increasing the amount of pit tiers. Like this is something we can definitely revisit if we see.
So they could, again, make more pit tiers yet again. Harder pit tiers than old pit 200.
In PTR that you all are insane, which is probably going to happen, and you beat tier 100. We really like that it's a razor and measuring stick, and we don't want to take that away from players. So
I think that's a cool attitude, guys. So maybe players are going to reach pit 100, which is basically the old pit 200. And if that happens, they have some plans to eventually make pit 100 or pit 200 even harder now, right? So I always like that there's, you know, something to always improve on, right? Like if like right now, the highest pit clear, I think is like 160. And like we are like a lot far away from pit 200. And I think that is very good because it always gives you something to strive for, something to like a reason to improve your character, if you will, to try to get these gems and try to get the glyph ups now and try to like beat a higher pit tier. And maybe at some point, guys, we gonna get leaderboards, because like what they do now is they actually completely disabled the Gauntlet because of some crazy meta shift of the Spiritborn and stuff, and people I think are still blasting some crazy scores on the Gauntlet at the moment. And yeah, I don't know, like the Gauntlet is not really like a popular system, and I could totally understand why. And yeah, you see here, people are literally a 7 billion score on the Gauntlet, and 7 million, and this is like not really possible, but I've seen like people reaching like up to billions of scores. Well, we'll see. Maybe we'll see leaderboards for the pits at some point. It would certainly be cool. We had this where we leveled the glyphs and or the gems in Diablo 3 as well, and there was always leaderboards, and I think that was very cool. And with this new pit system and having some proper rewards in there, I think that would be cool. But we'll see what we're gonna get. I'm sure excited for all this difficulty rescaling, and I can't jump in to wait to download the PTR today and to jump into the PTR on Tuesday and test this all out. I'll see you soon, my friends. Hope you enjoyed the overview. Take care. GG. If you liked this video, make sure to subscribe, leave a like or a comment. I'm also live on Twitch almost every day, so come and say hi.